For as long as humans have tilted their heads toward the night sky, one vast region of the moon has remained eternally hidden, a hemisphere that never once reveals itself to Earth. It is a place wrapped in mystery, myth, and speculation, a place so remote and so inaccessible that, until very recently, it existed more as a concept than as a destination. Except for China, because while every other nation has kept to the familiar near side, China has done what no one else has managed to achieve. They landed on the far side of the moon, and then they brought something back. And what they returned to Earth with may reshape not only the quiet, strategic competition between China and NASA, but potentially the entire trajectory of lunar exploration, future lunar bases, and even humanity's understanding of how the moon, and possibly life-supporting materials, formed in the solar system. But what exactly did they bring home? And why does it matter so much? To understand that, we need to travel back to a moment of political tension and scientific curiosity. During a NASA budget hearing, Congressman David Trone asked former NASA Administrator Bill Nelson a question that hung in the air like a challenge. Why is China going to the far side of the moon? Nelson's response was almost dismissive, yet revealing. They're going to have a lander on the far side of the moon, the side that's always in dark. We're not planning to go there. He spoke casually, but the implications were anything but. Because the dark side of the moon, a phrase immortalized by Pink Floyd's 1973 album, doesn't actually mean what people imagine. Despite the nickname, the far side of the moon isn't shrouded in eternal night. In fact, it experiences day and night just like the side we see, each lasting about 2 weeks. What makes it dark is not light, it's knowledge. For all of human history, the far side was the ultimate blind spot. Because the moon rotates on its axis in the same 27-day period it uses to orbit Earth, it is tidally locked. One hemisphere faces us forever, the other hides eternally. Even today, despite high-resolution images from orbiters like NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, the far side retains a sense of alien ruggedness. NASA scientist Noah Petro put it perfectly. The far side is so compelling because it's so different from the side of the moon we see. And he's right. The far side is older, scarred, and geologically distinct. Some of its visible crust dates back more than 4 billion years, ancient even by solar system standards. But landing there, that's an entirely different challenge. There is one enormous obstacle that has discouraged every country except China. The far side never faces Earth, which means you can't communicate with a lander directly. No radio link, no real-time commands, no emergency adjustments. To solve this, China launched a relay satellite, Queqiao, giving them a communication bridge where none existed. Through that technological doorway, they stepped into a part of lunar history that had never been touched before. And they didn't go just once. China now effectively has its own corner of the moon, a strategic scientific foothold where no one else has tread. Their latest mission there, Chang'e 6, accomplished something historic. Named after the Chinese moon goddess, Chang'e 6 is the 6th robotic mission in China's lunar exploration program, and their second lunar sample return mission. But this one broke every record. Where all Apollo and Soviet samples came from the near side, Chang'e 6 became the first mission in human history to touch down on the far side, collect lunar soil, drill beneath the surface, and bring nearly 1,935 grams, that's about 68 ounces, of material safely back to Earth. That alone would have been monumental. But China didn't just bring back dust and rocks. They brought back a scientific bombshell. On June 1st, The Chang'e 6 lander touched down on the southern edge of the Apollo crater inside the colossal South Pole Aitken Basin, a scar so massive it spans nearly a quarter of the moon's surface. Scientists have long suspected that this region might contain material from the lunar mantle, ancient rock blasted upward during a cataclysmic impact billions of years ago. If confirmed, samples from this area could help explain why the moon's two hemispheres look so drastically different, how the moon formed, how the early solar system evolved, and whether key ingredients for life hit Earth and the moon from space. But, nothing prepared researchers for what they actually found. When Chinese scientists sifted through more than 5,000 microscopic particles in the returned samples, they found something almost impossible: tiny fragments of an extremely rare, water-rich meteorite, a Ci chondrite. This kind of meteorite is so fragile that it almost never survives entering Earth's atmosphere. In fact, less than 1% of meteorites discovered on Earth belong to this group. Finding fragments on the moon seemed equally unlikely. Impacts there are violent, vaporizing most objects on contact. Yet somehow, 7 particles displayed the exact chemical and isotopic fingerprints of Ci chondrites. Researchers led by Jintuan Wang and Jiming Chen of the Chinese Academy of Sciences confirmed the fragments did not come from Earth, they did not originate on the moon, and they perfectly match Ci chondrites, meaning they came from a water-rich asteroid that struck the lunar surface billions of years ago. This is the first confirmed discovery of Ci chondrite material on the moon, and honestly, the implications are enormous. So, here's the thing. Ci chondrites are loaded with volatile materials, including up to 20% water that's locked right into their minerals. They are honestly some of the most water-rich space rocks in existence. This really matters because both the United States and China are planning to build long-term lunar bases near the South Pole, where, frozen water might exist in permanently shadowed craters. Water is basically the currency of space exploration. It can be split into oxygen for breathing, converted into hydrogen for rocket fuel, and, of course, used to support life for extended stays on the moon. The discovery proves that water-bearing asteroids not only hit the moon long ago, but may have actually left behind widespread traces of hydrated minerals. And, get this, Chinese researchers estimate that up to 30% of all meteorite fragments on the moon might be Ci chondrites. That's way more than what we find on Earth. Because the moon lacks weather, atmosphere, and liquid water, it might actually be better at preserving ancient impact materials than our own planet. Which means the moon is, in a sense, a time capsule, one that China has just cracked open. Because the moon lacks weather, atmosphere, and liquid water, it may actually be better at preserving ancient impact materials than our own planet. Which means the moon is essentially a time capsule, one that China has just cracked open. This discovery feeds directly into some of the biggest questions in planetary science. Did asteroids deliver water to Earth? How did water and organic molecules spread through the early solar system? Why is the moon's far side so different from the near side? What does this mean for future human outposts on the moon? And, more importantly, why was China the only nation willing, or able, to go get these answers? NASA has no current plans to land on the far side. China now owns the scientific lead in that territory. Not symbolically, not politically, literally. They are the only nation that has brought back its secrets. And they're not stopping. More missions are coming. A permanent international lunar base is planned with Russia, and the far side, once the ultimate mystery, is quickly becoming China's frontier. And more importantly, why was China the only nation willing, or able, to go get these answers? NASA has no current plans to land on the far side. China now owns the scientific lead in that territory. Not symbolically, not politically, literally. They are the only nation that has brought back its secrets. And they're not stopping. More missions are coming. A permanent international lunar base is planned with Russia, and the far side, once the ultimate mystery, is quickly becoming China's frontier. For the first time in human history, material from the moon's hidden hemisphere sits inside laboratories on Earth. And inside that material are tiny, impossible fragments from ancient water-rich asteroids, survivors of impacts that reshaped the moon billions of years before humans walked upright. The discovery was never guaranteed. In fact, many thought it was impossible. Yet, there it is. Delicate, water-bearing meteorite dust, preserved in lunar soil, brought back not by the United States, not by Russia, not by Europe, but by China. And this is only the beginning, because if the far side of the moon contains traces of water-rich material, ancient mantle rock, and untouched geological history, then exploring it is no longer optional. It is essential. The moon's hidden face has spoken for the first time. And what it's saying could change everything humanity thought it knew about its closest celestial neighbor, and perhaps even about itself.